5-day Christmas shopping trip is finally done. I've got a bunch of old, rusted, busted saw blades and some old, rusted, busted tools from the restore, and right now it is time for the official Bellingham Santa's workshop. Come on in with me. I first took Christmas into my own hands when I learned how to sew. Even before that, I started to get really disillusional at Christmas shopping because of the crowds and the sameness of all the merchandise. I wanted to break free. And by learning how to sew, that was my first step in breaking free. Every single Christmas since about 1995, I have made my family my own gifts. I have not even bought wrapping paper. I would use my own fabrics or create sacks to do wrapping of my Christmas gifts. Which meant I never had to go to the mall ever again. What's very interesting is that although the family very much appreciated the homemade gifts I gave to them, I have found resistance in other parts of the community. I remember in Seattle, I volunteered for a gift wrapping campaign for the Northwest AIDS Foundation at the local Barnes & Noble bookstore. I decided to try something, and I made a bunch of book-size fabric sacks out of a hefty supply of leftover upholstery fabrics I used to make my clothing. I must have made about 10 or 15 very colorful sacks, I guess is the best word for books, and figure to use those for wrapping. It turns out that absolutely no one who came to the table that I was at the store wanted the fabric covering. They all insisted on using wrapping paper. This was in about 1997, 1998, and I could not for the life of me figure out why. Among the most interesting of the Christmas gifts that I made were the very famous lighted clear plastic rain bonnets. I made them based on what I saw in a long-lost video of Burning Man many years ago. They consisted of a heavy-duty crystal clear plastic rain bonnet with purple glowing electroluminescent wire sewn in the seams. None of the family ever wore them. Mom, Dad, Chris, Susan, Nancy, and Tom all gently laid that gift into the attic. An interesting sidebar to that story was that a friend of Chris saw it and she wanted it. So Chris gave it to them, and that woman now wears it every time she goes ballroom dancing. wonderfully memorable experience is that when I was working at Intel Corporation, they chose to have an Intel Employees Night at the Oregon Museum of Science and Industry in Portland, Oregon. Part of that event was a children's toy drive, and for that I made 4 small clear plastic rain capes for children. And when I went to the event, which was at Christmas time, I wore my lighted clear plastic jacket with many, many colored lights. I was quite a hit for the night. The local TV stations was there, and one of the people at the Science Museum called me Mr. Clear Plastic. Another memorable time is when I made a small toy for another toy drive, and I took it to them. They said it was the most unique toy that they ever seen. It was a small wooden car made out of some blocks of wood and Tinker toy parts as wheels. And one of my most memorable gifts I made was not for Christmas. It was for the Radical Fairies for their gathering at Brightonbush. The gift I made was a memorial for Harry Hay, the founder of the Radical Fairies. It was a glass and metal sculpture depicting Radical Fairies, plants and trees, and a silhouette of Harry Hay as if he appears magically from the heavens. That gift went for auction for about $2,000 that went to charity, and that gift proudly sits in a group home in Seattle where they often have many gatherings for Radical Fairies. Well, that job's done. The bookends have been made. Now for the challenge. I need to skip on up from Bellingham to the North Pole to get these gifts to Santa Claus so he can deliver them to you. I've got deadline midnight Christmas Eve, and it's a long journey. Bye-bye.